Go ahead.
Okay, it's 9 a.m. on March 18th, and I'd like to call the standing committee meeting of the Finance Committee to order for the San Mateo County Harbor District. And it's just me, right?
Okay. Yes.
Roll call for me, Virginia Ching Kawali. Oh, is Tom
Matoush, Commissioner Matoush is absent.
Yes, he is absent. Okay, so item 1, review and introductions and review of the agenda. I think the agenda is pretty good and set. So are you ready to go to item 2, which is investment options?
Yes.
Okay, Julie.
Chair.
Pull up the documents on my phone. So, because that's what I was using to read from yesterday, which is basically my computer. Okay, great.
Currently the district is managing its investments primarily through San Mateo County's investment pool. And we're earning about 4.12 as of February 2024. The estimate for the 23-24 fiscal year is 3.725. Detail is on the attachment. The county treasurer charges the district approximately 9.5 basis points, which is a fairly low amount compared to other pools. And we have a contract with the county treasurer currently that limits the district's ability to withdraw cash to 12.5% of its total investments. So then there's just some language concerning that limitation. Boomer and I, we did speak with the county assistant treasurer, and they said that the treasurer at sometimes gives people special ways to take more than the 12.5% out. And that's what we did when we purchased the land.
Yeah.
They gave us an exception.
But there is no guarantee that depending on how much is coming due in their investment pools and how much money that they're needing, there's no guarantee that they would allow us to do that without penalties.
So did they allow us to do that because it was a purchase? Okay.
Yes.
I had to show her the agreements, the purchase agreements, and
Okay.
she allowed it.
And so I couldn't find it in the report. Maybe I didn't see it. Is there a list of exceptions where they would let us pull out more than the 12, or at least that? Any money, I guess? Does the treasurer tax collector have exceptions? Like where it's like a purchase of real estate or, settling a lawsuit or what? I mean, I'm just making it up, but I couldn't find the list of exceptions in here, but maybe I missed it.
I'm not aware that there's a written list of exceptions. My understanding is it is at the treasurer's discretion. So, but
Okay.
we can review the agreement again and see if there is any list. Like, maybe there's something like it's an emergency of some
Right,
sort.
that's what I'm saying. What constitutes or allows her to give the approval to do something like that? I mean, I would hope that they would have, I mean, she may, I don't know, but I would try to find out too.
I'm looking at the email chain and it says
there
any special request in cases of emergencies over the 12.5% will need approval from the assistant treasurer along with any supporting.
Yeah, but then that's very subjective, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if she has a list, but if we could find out, that would be great.
Okay, yeah, we can contact her.
Us too.
So as we go through some of the options here, we should keep that in mind that we may or may not have access to them more than the 12.5%, but we could always continue to bring out 12.5% each month until we bring the balance down to a level that we feel like maybe we keep a little seed fund in the county pool, so that if they are having better rates or the other process that we come up with, isn't working for us as good as we had hoped, we can always just put that money back in the county pool if we would like to do that.
So there isn't a penalty to put money back in? Okay.
The
That we-
treasurer,
Is there a time frame that once you take it out, you can't put it back in, or is there no?
there is a time frame, so the assistant treasurer did recommend that we keep at least a little bit of a balance in there.
Right,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about if we took out money, right? Because we wanted to get a higher yield or whatever, right? Is there a time frame that we have to sit out before we can put money back in? If let's say the yield curve changes or whatever, right?
Right. I believe that we can always put the money back in.
Okay,
It's the taking it out
yeah.
is the issue. And if we take it all out and close our account, then we would have a certain time that I think we had to sit out, that it would be very
Okay,
complicated
yeah,
to get back.
Yeah, to get back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That I can see. I just didn't know. Because if we were, this is totally hypothetical. If we took out money consistently, like to meet what our goals are, right?
Mhm.
If we had to have a time frame to put it back in, then, that's a different story too,
Mhm.
or different considerations. So anyway, okay.
So Boomer and I, we have been speaking with the investment service company.
Yeah.
In the preliminary discussions, they would give us personalized investment services. So it wouldn't be like, being part of a huge pool. It would be San Mateo County's investment portfolio, cash flow projections. They would, with the information that we feed them, do projections for us. They would prepare the quarterly reports that we're doing in-house now. And their estimated short-term average investment return is currently 5%, which is about what the CDs are paying at some of the major banks. There is our cash flow projections right now. We spent $8.7 million of our approximately $22 million that we had available. And we're going to be talking about the budget soon. There is another $10 million that we've earmarked to spend for the capital projects that we want to fund this year. Of course, that's all up to the board and the board's approval, but there are things that I know that the board supports, and that's the Surfers Beach Restoration Project. And then there's the OPM docks 1 through 6 access. There's a couple other ones that we can go through the budget.
So this investment services company, is that the only one that we've been talking to?
Well, I also got preliminary information from class.
Right, I saw that too.
Right, but yeah, so we've only been talking to one company. They reached out to us and we said, okay, well, let us look at what options we have. And then basically we're here today to see what direction the board or the finance committee at this particular time would like us to go in. Is one, we can continue to do what we've been doing, which the rate of return is pretty good and the cost is low and there's not much risk whatsoever. As far as, you know, the value of our money, we would never expect like the downturn in the market to equate to we can't have access to any of our money. I don't think it would ever get to that point. The other option.
So that for the investment service company, they're saying that the estimated short-term investment return is 5%, right?
Right.
So class is a little higher,
Right,
right? Like 5.43%.
right. And the investment firm actually said that they're a participant in class. So what they would do is for their fee, they would say, okay, well, class is doing the best, so we'll move your money into class and then move it out when it's not doing the best anymore and kind of build the portfolio that way. So they use class as part of their service.
Have you looked at firms like PFM? Because I think the county, because I'm on the treasurer's oversight committee, and the Menlo Park Fire Protection District also has hired PFM. And I think the fire district are yielding about 5.5%. And I just didn't know what other options that y'all were looking at. But maybe, I don't know, maybe you've looked at that, but PFM is something that is a firm that the treasurer's office is also using.
Yeah. Well, and so we're in kind of a very odd spot with our cash balances.
Yeah, that's I can see that.
Yeah,
That
so
made me wonder a little bit too.
right, and one of the things that this investment services fund said is that, you know, we take little portfolios because
Yeah.
we're headed towards having a very little portfolio at the end of
If you put money-
2025.
Yeah,
Because, you know, we spent a good portion of our money on the purchase of the land, and then we're gonna spend a good portion of our money on the capital projects that we have
yeah,
moving
That's what-
forward. And so I'm not saying that other companies wouldn't want to have this little portfolio, but that's one of the things that the investment services fund said, that the little portfolio isn't maybe all that acceptable to, like, they might have like a $10 million
Threshold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or something like that.
yeah. I
But-
mean, I can see that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we should contact them too.
Yeah, well, and so here's some of the options that we put down is that we can continue with our current process.
Yeah,
We can enter into a contract with an investment service company, and we can look at PFM and the one that we're talking to now and maybe ask them both to give a presentation to the finance committee, or however the finance committee would like to see those options. We do have a purchasing policy that if we go above a $10,000 amount in fees, that we should get at least 3 quotes. Sometimes it's a little easier to issue an RFP so that you can make sure that you're comparing like to like, and be able to pick the best value option, but that does take time.
yeah,
And we don't know how long the market is going to be in this favorable position. The other thing with our cash though, is we really can't lock ourselves into some long-term investments at this time, because we don't have a
Liquidity.
small cushion. Yeah.
yeah, we definitely, yeah. So as I was reading all of this, the other day, and I don't know, I mean, is that less than, well, a little, what is it, 1.3%? With, for example, or actually, that's with class. Yeah, is it worth it to move all of that for dollar amount, and maybe, I don't know, I mean, it's good if money works for you, right?
Yeah. That's the conversation
Yeah.
Boomer and I were having. It's
Yeah.
like how
Is
the
that-
staff time
Yeah,
that you
or
are
not that
spending.
much,
Right, yeah,
because it's such a small amount to begin with. It's not like, you know, 10, like $80 million or whatever. It's not,
right. Well, and if we still had that 8.7, I think it would
it'd be
be,
different.
right.
Yeah. It's a
Mhm.
different
An
conversation.
easier decision.
Oh,
Right.
totally, much
For
easier
the land
decision.
purchase.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would definitely just move forward with some other process because we could be getting, you know, a couple $100,000, which would
Yeah.
be definitely worth it.
Yeah, this is not that. I don't think it's this, that's the situation here.
Right, and we're not adverse to, you know, switching things up and seeing how they work, or, you know, seeing if we can do something better. We do know that the other company does the basis points that they charge to manage our funds is going to be a little bit more
Higher,
expensive.
yeah. Yeah. Well, then for the finance committee, I mean, maybe we should just, I don't know. They probably should decide, um, not the finance committee, I'm sorry, the board. I mean, we should probably give them the alternatives. I don't know. I mean, I just don't know if it's worth the time and the money for such a small amount. And how do we impress upon the board that that would be an option? And it may not be worth it if you did the cost benefit analysis. And I'm not saying it's not, I just don't know, right? And it's
Mhm.
not my decision, it's probably the board's decision, but they need to know what that dollar amount would be. And, you know, if we're, because we're spending, I don't want to say we're spending, those funds are kind of accounted for already, right? And we're gonna need more. I think liquidity is gonna be important for us.
Mhm.
That's the thing. So,
Right, and the
I mean, it's
hard
like
part.
now, right? It's not
Right.
like 5 years from now. Sorry, yeah.
Well, and the hard part is, and you know, the capital projects, you know, it's like, okay, well, here's a delay. We could have invested the money for longer term if we knew that there was going to be a delay, but
Correct,
it's
that's
completely
correct.
out of our control of really need those
Right.
funds.
And we need to have them ready to be available. That's the thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
We're also at the whim of the permitting processes for things. And if that's delayed for a few years, like, well, I don't know, the bathroom renovation, all that's gonna be easier than the dredging project, right? Which has now been on hold for the last at least almost 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then what do you think we should do in terms of presenting this to the board? I mean, do we just, maybe we just keep these same options there, or should we decrease the options at this point? I mean, these are pretty good.
One thing we could do is bring this back to the finance committee and talk to PFM. I'm not sure that would.
See, I just
Yeah.
don't know if that's worth
Right,
it. That's
yeah.
the thing. I mean,
Right,
like I said, it's not like an 80 million, $50 million portfolio, right? That's the thing. This is
right.
small, relatively speaking.
Yeah, we're talking at tops 5 million, but
Right.
that's,
And I was thinking even like 10, but I don't even think it's 10.
oh, no.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So it's not that, so I'm not even, I don't know. I mean, maybe find out, but I mean, because their yield is 5.5-ish around there.
Mhm.
I
It
just don't know if they
doesn't-
would
I
take
mean,
something
a
under
small
$10 million.
conversation. Yeah.
I just don't know if they'll take something under a portfolio under 10 million. I could ask. Do you want me to ask?
Sure.
I'll
Yeah, that'd
ask.
be great.
Okay. Why don't we do that? So I don't know. I mean, I don't even think it should come back to the finance committee. I don't,
Okay.
I actually don't think PFM is gonna take something under $10 million.
Mhm.
But I'll ask and I'll let you know, and I'll try to find out within the next few days. I mean, I guess we could go with these options for the board, but I don't know. Is it even worth it to look at a request for proposal to choose the best value option?
Well, and so
I
at that point, I think we would be looking at not just the next year, but long term. Like, okay, well, this is going to be our investment partner for the next
The
5 years or
right.
something. And maybe we'll have more money in 5 years. We don't know. I mean,
Well, with the bit, I mean, so the budget shows that the property tax is right, but I mean, it's almost all accounted for.
Mhm.
That's the thing. Well, let me ask if they do.
We could table this and then as the district starts growing its money again in future years out.
Look at it again. Maybe that's what we should do. I didn't see that as an option on here.
Yeah, I didn't put, well,
Because this is what we're
status
talking
quo,
about.
right,
Yeah, status quo.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe we should just do that. It's like under $10 million. It's just not that big for, I'm surprised the investment services company contacted you.
And they thought we had $20 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Purchase the land.
Yeah, well, then that's a
Yeah.
big purchase, and that's
It
a good
was.
investment
It
too,
was
right?
a big purchase.
And we needed that. I mean, we could just table it, because I don't see that there's gonna be that from a dollar perspective, it's gonna be that big between 4.1 and 5 on $8 million.
Right,
Right.
that's true. Mhm.
I don't know, what do y'all think?
Yeah, we were struggling with it. Like, we could use our energy to do some other things and hopefully
I mean,
maybe.
we're gonna have to do some major, like the budget, it's basically our financial planning tool for how we're gonna do things. Because there are lots of projects coming down the pipeline, right?
Mhm.
Maybe
Yeah.
because we have our cash flow needs, and we're gonna need liquidity. I don't know. I say just keep it as it is at this time, and we'll see what the needs are if we get more money in. I mean, it's good that we're using the funds that we're using for the reasons that we're using those funds. So it's not like we're not using them for things that'll benefit the public, right? And so that's why I'm less concerned about that 0.9% differential.
Okay.
But so class though,
Mhm.
I mean, it's probably not even worth it to look at class. I mean, really, it's about the portfolio size, right? At the end of the day, our portfolio
Right,
size is
mhm.
tiny, but class probably has a smaller, I don't know, what is their smallest portfolio that they manage? Because I think class was discussed at CSDA, right? They were there. And they're at a 5.47 yield, 5.47 or 5.43, something.
5.43,
Yeah.
Right, and we don't know how long they'll be up there because it does look like the rates are going to start dropping a little bit, but we could look into that further and see if that would just be a transfer, like the 12.5% of the put $1 million in there without going over the
Threshold,
12.5% that we can withdraw.
in class, can they do a presentation of where they think, and I don't even know, I mean, I'm just wondering if it would help the board if we wanted to even, because we have to report on this. This is a pretty significant thing, and clearly other agencies are kind of moving their money around because of the higher yield and the inverted yield curve, right? And no one knows how long that yield curve, the inverted yield curve is going to be, obviously. But the fact that like class in PFM, for example, and even investment services company, they're out there looking for these types of investment portfolios, potentially because of the inverted yield curve. I mean, does it make sense for us to get a presentation, for the board to get a presentation, just so they can see what the environment looks like? I mean, you can do it too, but I don't know if like class should, and I'm only picking on class because their yield is 5.43 versus 5, right?
Mhm.
And they spoke at the CSDA conference.
Mhm.
Well, they kind of spoke there. I don't know. I mean, what do you think? But if we don't want to do anything, then it may not make sense to bring them in,
Right.
right?
Well, that's the same with this investment
Services company, yeah.
company that has done presentations for staff, um, but yeah,
And it's not like we've hired investment services company.
no, we have not.
But class, okay, so is class similar to investment service company? I thought it was.
Class is more like the county pool.
Yeah, that's what I
for
thought.
Special districts. So you just put the money in and then you pull the money out when you need it. We'd have to find out what the rules are, all the details surrounding it.
Withdrawal limit.
Yeah, and the timing of the withdrawals too, right? Is there,
Yeah.
a penalty for pulling out? I don't know. I mean, maybe it may be worth it just to find out that information from class. Just, I mean, they should have something they did some generic presentation at the CSDA conference too. Maybe maybe it just makes sense so that I mean, it's a higher yield, so I don't know if they're pulling more money so that there's a bigger portfolio, like just, it's like the county pool kind of thing. So I don't know. Maybe find out some more information from class, and if it's worth it for them to come and do a presentation they may not even think it's worth it for the board, then.
Okay.
I think a presentation would help the board become educated too on what we're discussing right here, and why other agencies have been looking at this. I mean, I hate to put more work on y'all, but class should be able to they've got these presentations ready. They were at the CSDA conference. So maybe if they came in and did a presentation on just the economic environment alone and what they're seeing now and what they're possibly projecting in the future. Because I mean, the agencies that I am familiar with, they're looking at all of these to take advantage of the short-term higher yields, right? So it might make sense for them to just come and just do their presentation so that our board gets educated on what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Just don't put a lot of work on yourselves on this.
Right. Well, and I was thinking like, what is the easiest, like for us, we can put 30% of our money in a bank CD.
Right.
We just go purchase a bank
liquidity
CD.
too,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, we know that we probably won't need it for the next 6 months.
Right.
So,
Right. I mean, because that's gonna be the tug of war, right? Liquidity versus return.
Yeah, and so we could probably just do that in-house. Something like that, but 30% of how much do we have? We could put $3 million in there for 6 months or something.
Well, what I'm thinking is for class, so that it minimizes your work, is just to have them just do an overview on what they've done for CSDA, just so that the board, because I think it was Catherine, Tom, and I, and Jim, I think were at the CSDA conference when but I don't know if Tom, I think Tom was there. I can't remember. Well, Catherine was too. And they had that ad in the Special Districts magazine too, but I don't know. I think that, I mean, don't put a lot of work on yourselves, but I think maybe they should just, if they can, they may not, it's like I said, it may not be worth it to them. Just do an overview on what they're seeing, and I don't know. I mean, what do y'all think of that? Or do you think it's gonna be too burdensome?
Well, someone else giving a presentation
That's
to
what
the
I mean.
board, that wouldn't be a burden on us whatsoever, no. So,
That's what I
yeah,
think.
yeah,
That's what I
yeah.
think too. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they can come in and do that, just to talk
Yeah.
about the environment that we're in too.
Right, yeah, I don't know like the background of finance for the rest of the board, and so that might be a good thing for them to learn from the professional.
Education, yeah.
Mhm. Okay,
So
we can
okay.
ask, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. And then present something.
Minimize your own work.
Sure.
though, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it would just be the presentation, and if the board says, oh, the finance committee should look at this, then we'll bring it back, and if not, then.
Did we give options to the board or just do the
I
presentation?
think do the presentation.
Okay,
That
Alright.
we've looked at this, I would just say, let's do the presentation first, and then it can come back here and we can look at options.
okay, sounds good.
That wouldn't impact your work that much, would it?
No,
Okay.
a little bit of coordination.
Yeah, with class, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what, I think at this point, it's just, there's no hurry. I mean, from this month to next month or out to even May, it's not gonna be that huge of a deal.
Right,
But having the knowledge might, help the rest of the board understand.
okay, sounds good.
Okay. So we're done with item 2, right?
Right,
So then we'll go to item 3, which is the draft of the 2024-25 operating budget and 5-year capital project program, which I have to tell you, Julie, thank you for all of y'all for doing that. It's a really good report.
and we have to give a lot of credit to Rochelle. And Rochelle is going to show you kind of the interface of what ClearGov does, and then I can talk a little bit more about the numbers that we came up with, the draft numbers.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay. It was long, I have to tell you, it was long, but it was good. And this is the first look, just to remind anyone who's looking. Oh, wait, so, do I have to ask for public comment for item 2, investment options?
Oh, let's see, is there anybody
Any public?
who is on the line? There's only internal people
Okay.
here right now, so.
Okay, so then we'll close off item 2 and go to item 3. So Rochelle.
All right. Thank you. I'll provide a short overview of what it looks like from the web-based version. So we would have a live link to our digital budget book available. And as we go through our budget planning process, it would be updated to the most recent version. There are 7 primary tabs that go across here. The last one ending over here in debt, which that's one of the most simple tabs because it says we don't have debt.
Right, right.
Which
That's
is good
right.
news. But I'll show you a little bit of the features I really like. Let's see here. ClearGov helps us pull through demographics for our area. I just think the presentation of that information is very clean and easy to use by the public to look at that information. We did also include, which I think is valuable, the largest employers in our area, and pulled that data through. I think when we get down to really looking at the budget and what those numbers need to look like, this product does a really nice job of pre-generating some of the charts that we want to look at. So budgeted and historical expenditures by fund, and then also attaching the spreadsheets. This particular department, this is called all departments, so it's agency wide. But if we go over, we can take a look, let's say at Pillar Point Harbor. Description about Pillar Point, looking at a simple org chart just for Pillar Point Harbor, looking at goals and objectives, looking at how we did. Going down here and looking at expenditures by type, and this would be just for Pillar Point Harbor, and you get a little bit more detail on those expenditures when we look at the specific departments. Very similar to what you would see in our previous budget books, but looking at this digital format. And just being able, I like being able to navigate quickly throughout the budget book in this web-based interface. I also really love the capital improvement projects. So I'm going to show you the 1 year, and this is just, again, a draft looking at what we have put together for next year for what we just want to spend in the next fiscal year. Breaking it down by departments. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on, this is our Surfers Beach Restoration Project. And it's all of that pertinent information about what the project covers. If you really want to
It's
take
really good. Yeah, it's really good.
No,
I can't get it on my phone, but I did look at this on my computer last night.
no, just to blow up the picture.
Yeah.
Our beautiful Surfers Beach. And then also kind of identifying where the project's at, what we've spent to date or encumbered to date, what's still left. The spreadsheets don't automatically appear in the capital improvement project section, so you have to click on that and kind of see where we anticipate spending those funds.
Can I ask you a quick question? Because at the last meeting, and this is regarding this, the Surfers Beach, and probably the dredging, any of the projects that we've been dealing with, that have taken a lot of time and that people are waiting for, but we're all waiting for that. So Catherine had mentioned, and it was in our staff report, which I think Julie did, it was really good about the timeline and what agencies are involved with all of the permitting. Do you remember that?
John?
Or John, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any way to kind of include some of that information in here? Because I know that it's the financial document, but it almost like gives it some of the background, and I'm just thinking about it along the lines of time, right? Because time can be tied to money, and that the timing of things is, part of the reason that time is, again, not against us isn't the right word, but that it's almost like Groundhog Day, that we're seeing this all the time. And if we can show that there are other agencies that were, that were subjected to, their processes, then people can understand this relationship with time and how, this is still kind of the same, right?
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, and there may not be an appropriate place to put this. I just don't know this information. And it doesn't have to be the whole report, but that report was really good and it showed why time hasn't been great for us and why that we're like on a Groundhog Day loop. It's because of this time factor. I don't know. Is there an appropriate place to put that?
I think I would probably just add it in under the description
Yeah,
of the
maybe.
project and just that this is an ongoing project and
And it's
you know.
subject to these
Mhm,
processes,
mhm.
and it would probably be for any of the projects that
that we're-
have to go through the permitting process. I mean, that's what I would add, just because of the time element, because then it doesn't look like we're just sitting there doing nothing.
Mm.
In fact, we're waiting to hear back from the permitting agencies, and that's where the time element is, out of our control. I mean, I don't know, what do y'all think of that?
I think that's a great idea and really to reassure the public that we're not just rolling this project
yeah.
and not getting to it, but we're really in this holding pattern and we're really looking forward to moving forward and why
Yeah,
we're
And why we're
paused.
kind of stuck, right? And maybe have a little subcategory about the timeline or something. I don't know. I mean, I don't think that people understand in general that that the time element is tied to finances sometimes, right? And I think it's important for people to see that it's not like we're not doing anything. It's just, it's out of our control. The time piece is out of our control. If y'all think it's a good ad, then that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's great feedback. Thank you.
thanks. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to
No, that's- no,
interrupt.
this
This
is
is a
great.
really good report.
I like the way the visual of
Yeah,
also
looks
breaking
great.
down, let's say, might have, if we look
Are
at
you
the
looking
funding
at the-
sources,
Yeah,
this is for Johnson Pier reconfiguration. And so if we scroll through the panels, you can see we will be spending, approximately 2.9 million on this project in the next fiscal year. But we also have a significant amount of the project that is unfunded that we're working
Yeah.
on securing funding for. So we are kind of showing the whole picture of what we can spend and what the
gap
complete scope
is.
of the
Yeah,
project.
yeah,
And I just think, again, it has a great visual that's simple and easy to understand. And then we can look at the multi-year capital improvement projects
yeah,
that are, kind of looking out into the future. A lot of those kind of unfunded projects, but still have that the board sees value in keeping their eye on.
Yeah.
So, for instance, like the rock slope restoration has been pushed out. And so you'll see that underneath the multi-year plan versus what we're just going to focus on in the next fiscal year. So I think those are kind of the highlights of the digital budget book.
yeah. I think it looks really good. Really, really good.
Yeah.
I'm just scrolling down through all the pages on my phone right now, but I didn't pull this up last night on the computer. Just a quick question. This is just me. When you do the introduction where I'm presenting to here, I'm pleased to present blah, blah, blah.
The transmittal letter.
Yeah,
Mhm.
is that supposed to be from Jim, right?
Right.
Who is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So is that gonna go at the bottom at that page, the transmittal letter page?
So
Or is it
looks-
gonna be at the bottom of the whole budget?
Oh,
Hi, Melanie.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, here, I see it. It's, okay. Never mind. On the phone, on my phone, it's on a different page.
Sure.
That's, okay, I get it. Hey, Jim. Okay, never mind. I take that back.
And there are still some tweaks. So
Yeah.
you're looking at the PDF version.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we'll go through and continue to reconcile that. We
found
want
another-
it to print out on one page. Right now, the web version, we don't have to fight some of that.
Yeah, no, I
Those
know,
details.
I know. Yeah.
So
Okay,
yes.
never mind. And then there was another typo. I can't remember. I'll have to look for it. It
Will you
was,
send that to me?
yeah. Yeah, I should have flagged it, but I just remember, okay, I gotta let them know. I will find it and I will send that to you. But I mean, I think it looks good. So we're presenting this to the board, right? And I wanted to find, there was something else, about the property tax. I mean, it just, all the explanations were really, I thought that, I'm a finance person, so it's easier for me to understand. But I thought it was really good. I just think that that one part of the timepiece should go into every description of the project so that people know it's not Groundhog Day for us.
Sounds good.
So I can go through some of the numbers and the
Yeah.
explanations
Okay.
now. Let's see.
Jim walked in at 9:45. You have any questions, Jim?
Oh, I've been online the whole time, listening.
Do you know that we're adding that one piece about, from that staff report about the permitting process and the
Yes.
time? Okay.
And then item two, I agree with,
Yeah, in term, okay, with class coming in and doing, yeah, we're past that item. Okay, so getting back to Julie's numbers, okay.
Okay, so basically this shows a summary of the budgetary highlights for the district. It compares the 23-24 projection with the 24-25 draft budget. And, this is the first draft, so we do have some typos and some
Yeah.
things to figure out in here. And we just had the ClearGov consultant change some of our graphs. So on the web version now, it's looking better than it was here because it was showing 6 months of information. But anyway, the district revenue streams for fiscal year 24-25 are expected to exceed the expenditures, not including election costs of 3,844,000.
Just under 4 million. But we do have an election this year.
We have an election year and we budgeted
With
900,000 for that. Yeah.
Okay,
Well, we hope that there will be savings, so everyone
we
will
hope.
run unopposed, but.
right. That if Bill Zimke runs, again, he might run unopposed. He didn't even have an opponent last time.
Is it?
It's
Bill,
Bill, Tom, and me.
right. I was thinking Bill had an opponent and George didn't, but I.
No, Bill didn't either. Tom and I did, but Bill, this was in 2020.
Catherine had an opponent, but
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Catherine had an
Someone
opponent.
had an
Yeah.
opponent. Okay.
So that 900,000 could go down if, okay, so
Yeah.
that's the conservative estimate then,
Right.
because that almost takes this down by $1 million.
Yeah, and the 23-24 projection, we think we'll have around $4 million to go towards our capital project spending this year. The operating revenues are budgeted to decrease by 5.9% due to projected inflationary increase in fees of 3.7 and an increase in lease revenue associated with Pillar Point Harbor Retail Center. Oops. Non-operating revenues are budgeted to increase by 3.9% due to a projected increase of property tax of 7.7%, which is a very large increase, partially offset by lower estimated interest expense due to a projected decrease in cash balances. I have heard, and I have not been able to verify this with the assessor, is that there's a lot of appeals
Yeah, I
in
believe
process
that.
right now. And so I
For
tried
overvaluation.
overvaluation on the new construction.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because they're not done or what? So that was my next question. Is there any way, and I don't know, they should be able to do this, to get information on where the increases are happening? Like I know that like over the hill in my area, it's probably increasing, but I have to think that on the coast, it's also increasing because there's, you know, some building that's happening over here, right? I mean, I don't know, I could be wrong.
Well,
But
the appeals are values put on property
Right.
that yeah.
yeah, because like Genentech went through this where they
Right.
appealed and they wanted to be valued down.
Mhm. Right.
So the question is, because I think we had to pay the fire district at the time. I think this was back in 2012, 2013. And it was a hit on like the fire district's budget. And so do we have an estimate if there's a downward valuation and they're granted, what that hit would be to us?
Yeah, and I've tried to reach out to the assessor and haven't gotten a response back yet.
It may take a little longer because they don't even necessarily know.
Right, and some
But
of
we
the
need to be
appeals
on the
takes
lookout. So long,
years,
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
so.
but these should not take that like years and years. Like I think the Genentech appeal was maybe, I think it was like a year or something like that.
Mhm.
I don't know, but yeah, we should keep an eye on that because if there are downward valuations, that could affect, if they're granted, that could affect our bottom line too, for the
Right.
tax dollars that we get in,
Mhm.
or that we may have to pay. I mean, I think the fire district had to give back money, something weird like that. I'll find out, but it was something weird like that.
Well, I know that we're in Teeter, so that we're guaranteed to have
Some,
right, but if the valuation goes down, then there's.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
yeah, so if that has happened before with the fire district.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
No, I know. And so I just want us to be aware that that is and I don't know, maybe it's not a possibility, but if it is, we should be cognizant of that possibility.
Mhm.
Okay.
Salary, wages, and benefit expenditures are projected to increase by 3.6% due to estimated salary, wage, and benefit cost increase, along with anticipation of being fully staffed for fiscal year 24-25. There currently one vacancy. And we haven't had any people leaving the district recently, which is really very nice.
And that's thanks to all of y'all, Jim in particular, right? Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that's true because Julie's been here longer than you. But thanks for all that work because I know that was a problem before. So I'm very proud of the fact that, you know, our employees and personnel staff seem to be pretty content.
Yeah. This is-
You'll let us know, right? Okay.
No one's actually come to me and said, oh, I'm quitting or
I think
Um,
it's important to have stable administration.
Oh, definitely.
So
There's so
thank you
much to
for that.
learn in this
Yeah.
job,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're kidding, and it's not April 1st. Okay,
So non-personnel expenditures are budgeted to increase by 20%, which I know is a large increase. The 24-25, there's increases in approximately 3.7 due to inflationary increases. PG&E utility costs have gone sky high.
way high.
So, and PG&E is expected to increase the rate 17%, which
Oh
is
my
huge.
God. So have we had an increased service level of service from them, or is it just the same thing and they're just increasing because they have to deal with their
No increase in
liability?
service.
So the service is status quo, but they're gonna increase their rates by
Right.
17%.
I do, I
Pay back
do,
all their lawsuits.
That's right.
well, and I think they are trying to repair some of the lines.
Power lines.
And cut down the trees and stuff, so I think there is some of that, but they did have huge liability losses.
No increase in service. They're trying to make their service more reliable. If the lost power,
Basically, they're
Several
fixing a deferred maintenance problem, in my opinion.
Mhm.
and I don't see that
It's
as
gonna
increased
cost
service.
17 I agree. It's a deferred maintenance problem and it's gonna increase but our fees are gonna be increased by 17%. That's crazy.
We're starting to look into solar to lower some of our.
Both here and at OPM?
Yeah.
Are we working with the city of South San Francisco on that too?
Not yet. We're just initially looking into it. So
So if we're looking at that, maybe for the OPM committee and the joint meeting that we're gonna eventually have, solar power may,
we can discuss that at the next OPM meeting.
yeah, might want to be on the agenda.
So the other increases are surface beach monitoring costs, including eelgrass monitoring, consulting services potentially for a potential ballot measure related to search and rescue funding.
A ballot measure, as in a bond or a tax? What are you thinking, Jim?
They're both considerations.
And we talked about the election costs, capital contributions.
Can I
And
ask you a quick question? Sorry, Julie, before I forget. So if we did a tax thing for the search and rescue thing, for example, I mean, are you thinking countywide tax, Jim?
Yes.
Or, okay, because we're a countywide agency.
Well, we're countywide, but we're also, in my opinion, state, Northern California, not just county. 'Cause
Right,
everybody
regional.
every county in the area comes to our coast, but
Right,
definitely not a coast-side expense.
right, solely.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
Being benefactor or beneficiaries of the benefit because
Right. Okay. Sorry, Julie.
oh, no, that's okay. Some of the things that we're expected to complete or that we have already encumbered the money for this year includes the Pillar Point Harbor Public Restroom at Surfers Beach, Pillar Point Harbor parking lot improvements, design and engineering for the Johnson Pier and dock reconfiguration, and for the Surfers Beach restroom and or restoration and dredge project, design and engineering for Oyster Point East Dock replacement, ADA restroom and roof replacement at Pillar Point Harbor, and design and engineering for the retail center replacement. Capital projects expected to be funded in the next fiscal year include Johnson Pier and dock electrical upgrades, beam and pile replacement, design and engineering for the Pillar Point Harbor Launch Ramp restroom, and boat Ritz construction for Surfers Beach restoration and dredge project, and the Oyster Point Marina access ramps for docks 1 through 6 and 11. So then the next, this is just the projected versus the revised budget. There's a little bit of decrease in operating revenues. Pillar Point Harbor is seeing a higher vacancy or lower vacancy rate.
Lower vacancy or higher, higher?
It's like they were at 100 and now they're around 90.
Okay.
So I'm
So it's
talking
not-
vacancy is
yeah.
10%.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to make sure I was clear on it.
Yeah. And also the commercial fishing season and recreational fishing has had an impact in that on all of the transient boats that come into the harbor. Oyster Point Marina has increased their or decreased the rate of vacancy because of the influx of the Oyster Cove Marina patrons.
So where are we there in terms of percentage?
So we're looking at a 5%
Increase.
decrease between what we budgeted this year and what we're projecting by the end of the year.
No, in terms of vacancy percentage.
Oh, they're
We're tracking up in
like
OPM.
85. They're in the department budget where
Oh,
I think they
okay, I'll
talk
look at
about the
yeah.
vacancy.
Pretty significant jump from the last time we reported the
Yeah.
vacancies.
I mean, are they, they're paying for their Oyster Cove folks?
Yeah, Oyster Cove boats come over as the major.
No, I know, but they're paying for
Yeah, they're
this, because
paying.
there was a time where some people,
We worked all that out.
okay, perfect.
There's a few people it's part of a whole plan. They just got integrated into the plan. We're
Okay.
not looking at where they're coming from anymore.
Okay, so that's kind of good for Oyster Point too,
Yes.
right?
Yes, it's really nice over there. That view
It's
is
beautiful.
amazing.
They've done a great job. The city's done a great job.
Non-operating revenues are expected to exceed the revised budget by 4% due to higher than expected rate of return on investments. So we basically underestimated the amount during the budget time. Salaries, wages, and benefit expenditures are expected to be below budget by 1.7% due to vacancies and leave of absences. Then non-personnel expenditures for the revised budget and projections are anticipated to be equal. In capital is expected to decrease less than anticipated by 284. So we're pretty much right on budget.
Target, yeah. I
mhm.
mean, great job. I was just thinking, gosh, that's pretty great. That's great.
You want us to talk through the strategic goals? This is a section that we're still working on and is under review. Do we want to do that today, Jim, or?
I would work on it and I would, so the one thing I did notice, so you have, like, for example, the 2024-2025 goal number 1, right? Like, maybe we should state that in the title, what that goal number 1 is. So that it's, because then, it's like, okay, water quality at the beach, blah, 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 right? And so, I don't know, I know that it's a work in progress, but that's just, a little bit of improve, the input that might improve,
Oh, in the title. we can do
visibility.
that.
The little headings, yeah, like where it says 2024, 2025 goal number one, like colon and
And
whether
then-
it's water, whatever it
Sure.
is, right? So the reader can kind of just go to what he or she wants to look at. And just to make sure that these strategic goals actually match our spreadsheet in terms of the priority order too.
And these are the 24, 25 goals listed here, and these are just based on what things, we thought might come forward as a continuing goal for the commission.
Well, I think it's great, but again, if we can put what that title is, that would be easy, I think, for legibility purposes.
And then we're gonna update the progress that we
Yeah.
had on what our goals were this fiscal year, and so we'll do
That
that.
looks so good. The graphics look good too.
I'm not necessarily gonna go through this unless you think it's important. Virginia short-term factors influencing decisions. It's pretty much the same as it has been in the prior years, and uncertain economies, previous board actions that
So I think it's really good, and I think, but here's the thing, because this is such a long document, right? The easier people can read it, the better. So we have the short-term factors influencing decisions, which I think is great, right? So then you have like the various underlying factors that influence I would highlight, not highlight, bold that too. So it's easy, it's kind of sticks out on the page. Yeah, I would do that. Okay, long-term financial planning, that's where the typo is. The chart below summarizes. Instead, you have summarizes. That was that, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I was like,
it's like every time we look at this document, we
I
find
know,
something
it's like
else.
you're going- your eyeballs go back into your eye socket. So that's why it's like, okay, I'm gonna help read this. But that was the
That was
typo, yeah, yeah. That I was referring
Thank
to.
you.
So, I guess one of the things, and we'll talk about this more on our last item on the agenda,
Yeah.
and that's the whole impact that CalPERS liabilities has. Doesn't have any impact on the budget per se,
Right.
because it is a long-term liability that we're not taking into account in our budgetary analysis. But that we had a couple years ago, we had a really good stock market, and
Yeah.
basically our liabilities went away for a year, and now they're back, if that makes any sense. So they went to like 200,000,
And the discount rate continues to get lower. I
right?
think it's what, at 6.8% now, I think.
You remember the discount rate? I know that they
It's
keep
about
decreasing it.
So there's another, okay, so, but so what is the agency? I'll have to get this to you. Do you think it makes sense for, someone to come in to do a presentation about UALs? Because I'll tell you, so last year when I was the fire board president, the finance committee brought someone in just to give the overview, because not everyone really understood why it was like paying it down, for example, which the fire district had been paying. They didn't especially some of the new guys didn't really understand why that was significant and beneficial. And so this person came in, and I can't remember the agency, like is it maybe, I don't know. I'll have to get the name for you. And it was just more or less informative so that the board had an overall understanding or education, so they could overall understand why we do what why we've done what we've done, and why we could do what we could do, and what, what needs to be done, so that and it was so informative that maybe it's that the board needs to look at that too, as the defined, I think it's CalTrust. No, it wasn't, I don't know. Let me get the name for you,
Well,
Julie.
Yeah, well, and the understanding is that we don't have the funds to pay down any liabilities, but it would be really important for the board to, understand what all of this means.
Yes, and they did a great job. It's almost like CalPERS 101, and it was so good. I think we did that at the end of, I think it was the December meeting last year. And I don't know, and I think because I took it for granted, because I kind of understand it, but most people don't understand it. So let me get you the name, and that means we're going to have a couple of presentations, but I mean, they don't have to be in the same meeting. The CalPERS one could be, well, when do you think the CalPERS presentation, like how CalPERS 101 presentation should be?
When should it be? I guess depending on the availability, we could even reach out to CalPERS and see if they have any trainers that
I think that's where this person came from. I'll get you the name.
okay.
I'll get you the name of the firm or the agency or whoever did it.
It's hard to explain things to a level where non-finance people can.
And I'm telling you, he did a
Yeah.
really good job. I was shocked. Like, oh my God, if I didn't understand any of this, then, it was really, really good. I'm looking it up right now, but okay. But I'm just trying to figure out, when would we want these presentations to happen, I guess is my
Yeah.
question.
Well, we have the preliminary budget coming up in April. May is kind of a month where we don't have a lot of finance discussions. Might be a good month.
But we also have the class presentation.
Right.
So that's what I'm trying to think of, when those would or should happen.
So maybe the class happens in March and, oh, no, not March, April.
April.
And then the CalPERS in April or May, I mean.
May,
Yeah.
That's probably the order that makes a lot of sense, since we're going to be talking. Is this so that I mean, yeah, the April one, I think class should go on to that. I think that's right. Okay, sorry, I keep interrupting.
No,
you.
that's good.
Okay.
Right. The other thing that's always in here is basically all of our depreciable assets and how much the big percentage of our assets are depreciated because of the age of our peers. So we have that deferred maintenance that we need to get to eventually. So this is the other summary. We'll work on the descriptions a little bit more. When we won the award for the GFOA's budget, one of the recommendations that they made is that we have a whole section that's just 5-year financial forecast, instead of putting it as part of the capital improvement program budget, and to come up with longer term goals down here. So we have placeholders. We're gonna try to get to that over the next couple months. And you know, it's on the radar anyway. And so when we look at what we think we're going to do 5 years out, the average inflationary rates historically have hovered around 2.5%. So we just did a straight line 2.5% for our revenues, and non-personnel expenditures increasing by that same amount. Non-operating revenues, we still kept in that 1% decrease just because of the uncertainty of the appeals. So we didn't want to overpromise the revenues that we might see in the future.
That's smart.
Salaries and benefits will increase around 5% annually. And then the 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28, 29 includes election costs. So those are the assumptions that we made. And then we have the working capital that's going to be used for capital improvement programs. Looks like we need, oh no, we don't need to update. 800,000 is being funded by DBW grants. So that's why that's like $10 million there. And so we can see that the end of 24, 25, we expect to have about $5 million. According to our reserves, we need about $3 million for funding of reserves. That funding of reserves is necessary for emergencies, but it's also necessary to smooth out our cash flows.
Right.
So if we get to a level where we're really watching our pennies, then we have enough for payroll and accounts payable during the months that we're not getting big chunks of property taxes, for
Right.
example.
Or we have to adjust for macroeconomic situations in the
Right.
fishing industry.
And then we start increasing our balances again. So we're estimating like 3.3 million, then 2 million, and then 700,000 in the last year of 28, 29. So
It's a pretty sharp drop from 27, 28 to 28, 29.
well, that's the $900,000.
Oh, for the, got it,
Election
got,
fee
oh, I got it,
primarily,
I see
yeah.
that, that's a, but yeah. Okay. Why is there an orange highlight on ending working capital for the last?
Oh, there's just, the line disappeared.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's
okay.
just little things. So we'll work on this fund summary and all the graphs. And operations. The departments.
It's really coming along really well. What do you think, Jim?
No, but the new formatting and all the work that Michelle's been putting into the appearance of the budget and then the numbers being some more. Land this year for still in a very good financial position. The budget reflects that in the next year. Doesn't mean we can go buy another piece of land for 8 point. They'll look forward to the following year. The budget again is, presentation style makes it much easier
To read,
to
yeah.
read and understand. The online version is remarkably, remarkable. I think it's a very good product and reflects what the budget, or what we're doing. Tax dollars and revenue dollars that we bring into it.
I agree with
Yeah.
that too.
5 years in a row, or a row.
I mean, it looks great. Yeah.
Michelle went through the online product there, so.
This is the first
Finance
look.
committee to see, question about adding in the permitting process. I think that's excellent. Going to.
Oh, no,
But
just,
a short little paragraph on permitting, why the program, why some of these things are being delayed so for a decade with the,
yeah.
with the dredging stuff.
That's an example, right? I mean, that, because the time element is important when it comes to money. Okay, I mean, I think it looks great. So, I mean, so this is going to the board as a first look.
Yes,
And so the first look will then have the little blurb about the time piece, right? The timeline. Or is that gonna be the second look? Oh, no, the
Yeah,
first,
we've
oh, no, we
already
can't, it's, yeah, you
published it
can't,
'cause
yeah,
it's
that's
on
right. It's
Wednesday,
the
yeah.
Wednesday. So in the April,
At the April
Second look,
preliminary budget
okay.
adoption, it will, yes.
can you talk about that in your report?
Sure, absolutely. yeah.
Okay.
so the board will introduce the budget and
Yeah.
then,
Have the staff,
either you can go through
no, they
Or
can go,
it, Julie to go.
Julie should go through it.
Well,
I'll
I'll
just
just Rochelle to,
Kudos to
Michelle
everyone.
will do the same thing, go through the new format and all that.
Yeah.
Repeat up today.
Yeah. And anything like, the assessments of property, I mean, I can talk about that if needed, gaps, right, where, if needed, like if there's a downward assessment of property values, that kind of thing. But we have to be careful, that's where that 1% cushion is gonna be there to help.
If there's any other direction for us, we can take that, or if there's none, then we can move on.
Yeah, we'll go to item, would y'all have any, do we have any public comment on this? Probably
We
not.
don't take public comments.
For a standing committee,
It's up to you as a committee. You can take public comments if you like.
we don't have public commenters, right? Okay.
no, I don't believe so.
Yeah, okay, then we'll go to item 4, which is the draft 2022-23 audited financial statements.
Which is another good news story.
Yeah, very good.
As a staff, Julie and Rochelle and Boomer will go through this audited report. The
Yeah,
one thing that I want to point out is the fact that it was a clean audit report, no recommendations or suggestions, which is remarkable in itself. And it's, since I've been here, it's the 4th time in a row, or the 5th that we've had clean audits. But this is a brand new auditing firm.
yeah,
The rest were all the same auditing firm.
yeah,
And it's an auditing firm that came in and audited our books for the time period in which we switched over from our old system, which was antiquated and a lot of hand entry, to our new system. And they still were able to manage the money correctly and account for it properly with proper safeguards against overspending and fraud. So the fact that we got a clean audit for that with no recommendations.
yeah, with a new auditing firm.
With the new auditing firm,
Yeah.
it's remarkable, so.
I agree.
We've got the best financial staff
I
in
know,
the small district world, our special district world.
I'd say in general,
With that.
whether it's
I'll turn it
small or
over to,
big.
Julie.
There's not a lot to say here
Wonderful.
besides that.
We already did
But I
that.
mean, I think it's really good. I think it is remarkable, and it needs to be kind of highlighted that we have a new firm that, because that's when it's truly independent. They're not looking at any of past, I mean, they're looking at some past things, but not the work that they've done.
They came in and had to start from scratch.
Yeah, that's right. I think that should be highlighted.
Yeah, and they'll be here to give a presentation at
Oh,
the
great.
board meeting, so.
In the March board meeting?
Mhm, right,
Remotely, but yeah.
yeah. And so we just kind of wanted to have a first conversation with the finance committee on it.
Yeah,
Um,
I thought it looked good.
Yeah. They did a really nice job. They did do a few things differently. Boomer, do you want me to go through those or?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we haven't done in the past, and please correct me if I'm saying something that's not true, is that they valued our investment earnings as of June 30th. And so if there was an unrealized loss or gain, they're going to be recording that amount. That's a non-cash transaction.
Right.
It's unrealized. So you'll see that there's a negative investment earnings in this fiscal year, giving us a variance of
So I
about.
was
400.
wondering about that, so you should definitely point that out too.
Yeah, I think that the auditors are going to have that as part of their
Okay,
presentation.
Okay, good.
Overall, the biggest change between 2022 and 2023 is the salary and benefit line item. There's a $3.9 million variance, and that is all related to the CalPERS liability coming back.
Yeah, that is really, that's why having that CalPERS presentation is gonna be good.
Right, that's a good suggestion, and maybe this will highlight the
Yeah,
reason why
Yeah,
and again, that's a non-cash transaction. Obviously, the big addition, oh no, that's this year. Coming up next year will be our purchase of land. Investment earnings to portfolio we see here, but that's really the
those are the highlights.
highlights of the changes that are going to be presented. Other variances are pretty nominal.
Yeah.
Do you want to go through the MD&A a little bit, Boomer, or does that make sense?
One thing, there's what was it, 30% increase in salaries and benefits?
Right.
And the reason for
That's
that.
the liability, the CalPERS stuff.
Yeah, it's like 88% of the whole.
Actually, cash expenditures out of the budget.
Right.
Non-cash, it's a paper cost.
Right, that's why. So Jim, were you here when we said we were gonna bring in the CalPERS?
Yes,
Yeah,
I was online.
yeah, but but I think the timing's gonna be really good. Because it doesn't look good there, right? But anyway, I think it'll be important for the CalPERS guys come in and make that presentation.
I pulled up the CalPERS reports, the most recent ones we have, it went from like classic, went from like 90
Yeah,
within 1 year, so that's. There's not that much more to say on the MD&A. I like definitely that glaring highlight is that salary benefits.
I'd be prepared to
increase.
talk about that too.
But
I mean, like, as in give the explanation if someone asks about it.
The operating revenues increased by 7%. About 100,000, little less than 100,000 was due to additional lease income related to this office.
Oh.
In this building, I
Yeah.
should say, yeah. And then again, there's adjustments that we're doing from an accounting basis that we're recognizing the current value of future revenue streams related to the lease. Yes, yeah.
yeah, and that one. Our new auditor is doing things a little different from our old auditor, and this is a new GASB pronouncement too.
Oh, okay.
First went into effect last audit. Changed auditors to NIGRO.
Yeah.
And they do it a little bit different from me.
Do you
Does
like
change.
them more? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, they're okay. Yeah. Some property taxes.
Yeah, I saw.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had any opportunity to, there's a lot of information on this meeting, but if there's anything that you see on here that we should highlight as part of our presentation to the board, we're happy to do that. Again, Boomer's done a fantastic job with, along with,
That's what I think it's
Yeah.
important for people to know that we had a new firm
Mhm.
and just the differences in the firms. Right, I think that's important.
yeah,
And it's good, I mean, because you have to have a new firm, right, every so, well, not every, like, what, every, ideally 3 to 6 years or 3 to 5 years or something like, I don't even think it's that long, I think it's every 3 years, 2 years.
there is a state law that requires a different auditor. Is it?
Last audit, not this past one, but the audit before that, we had to change the engagement partner.
Yeah,
At Maze for that to be.
right, no, there is a state law, yeah,
So they did that. I mean, it was
it's like 3 or 4 years or 5 years, something weird like that. Yeah. Okay.
Great.
I mean, I think it looks good. I think it looks good. So this is, so this, what we're gonna present is not a draft, right? Or is it the draft?
Well, that's another thing that the audit company did a little bit differently is, before we would present the audit report, NIGRO would like to get the input from the board
Okay,
before they finalize the report. So if there's anything that you see that needs to be changed at the board meeting, they would take that into consideration.
I don't see anything, but should we say that the finance committee recommends that the board approve this? Or do we have to go through a draft reading period? I don't think we do, right?
Oh, we can recommend that they approve it as presented.
Oh,
yeah.
we are, or in the staff report, I'm asking.
It's just not approved, until the board approves the resolution.
Right, yeah.
But the.
No, I know, but what
Yeah.
I'm hearing is that they wanted feedback from it, but I would say that the finance committee recommends that it just approves it instead of getting feedback. I mean, unless it's, major feedback, but I don't see that happening.
That's how the motion is recommended.
Okay,
This is the finance committee, so you would
I mean,
lead the
just give the
discussion, yeah.
report.
mhm.
just give the report and that the finance committee recommends that the board approves the final.
We'll do it again with introduce the agenda item, turn it over to you, of course, as the finance committee to introduce, and then you can ask again, Julie, to run through it with the consultant and go over our own reports.
Okay. Okay,
But it'd be great if you can publicly,
of
the
course,
staff.
of course,
and
for
make
all
that-
of it.
Make that point about start
Yeah,
from scratch and a new financial system.
Yeah. Comment? No public comment? Any last words, Jim?
I just, again, this represents a lot of work,
Yeah,
a lot of hours, and again, to reach basically perfection on the audit was remarkable. And our budget, it just gets better every year.
I agree. Okay. And which if not, we'll adjourn the meeting at 10:37. Yay.
Right.
We signed off. Are we signed off, Mel?
Oh, shoot.